I'm Tyler Hynes, and I would love to see both these guys shirtless.
Yeah.
And this is the Deck the Hallmark podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Bran from Deck the Hallmark. Tyler Hynes, our buddy, our pal, is on the show today, and we wanted to share a few minutes of the interview with you and let you know that you can listen to the whole thing wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can watch on Philo, and you can get a free trial to Philo by going to philo.tv/DTH, and then once you sign up, just search for Tyler Hynes, and the interview will pop up. But to just whet your appetite, here's a few minutes of our interview with Tyler. Happy Friday.
I've never seen someone, especially on the male leading side of things, as famous as you are in the Hallmark universe. And you can deny that all you want, but I think the numbers would bear that out. My question is that are you still just taking, when they call you, are you still just going, they're like, we got your next movie. And you're like, all right, where do I go? Or do you now get to choose the movie that you want to do next? Like, because I've heard we've had other people on this show who've said Hallmark's open to a lot of ideas now. They're letting us pitch things they never pitched before. That's how Three Wise Men and a Baby got made. That's how a lot of these movies get made. Are you now kind of starting on the ground floor, if it's not with Paul and Kimberly or whomever, and going, I want to make X and then let's make it? Or are you still is Hallmark still calling you going, we got a movie about a photographer, and you're like, I'm in, let's do it? Like, what is it for you right now?
As long as I get to ride my hog.
On the line when I had that phone call, how do you know it went down exactly like that?
I know.
The answer is, I think I could have always, had a say as to what I was doing, or maybe turned down movies and waited for a different one. I think that was always the case. There's a certain thing that this is, and what is the goal within that thing. And it's not quite like the old Hollywood system where you sit there and you wait for the perfect movie and the right project, and you go and make that thing, and then you can sit back and wait. Like there's a way that these guys used to do it, like Gosling, and that's great. That's not the world that we live in with these movies, and that's not really what's good about them. What's fun about them is seeing a sort of continuous variation of what's the same people in different circumstances. And I think the reality is, about the way these things go down, between the moment that I sign on to do a movie and it comes out on your TV, there is a million things that transpire that can make it good or make it less good. And if I were to sit here and just go like, this is a good script, I'm doing this, and this is why I should do this, I think I would be shortchanging certain experiences, certain challenges of my own. And it's not quite how this machine works. And to answer your question, do I have those conversations? Yes. Has things evolved? Absolutely. Will things get better? I think so. And I think everybody's trying their best. And so I try to be a team player and try to identify where the value is, and also realize that the value can sometimes come in places that you don't expect. A picture of her, Rhiannon, was such a talent, and was so good at what she does, that we were able to sort of do things that may not have been the case otherwise. And we're able to find strengths and things, to what we're talking about earlier, to which you could focus on, that would make this movie worthwhile on that merit. And maybe it has other shortcomings, and this can kind of go the same for all of the movies. But you just try to find the thing that's tasty about that thing. And you don't necessarily have to, I've learned that you don't necessarily have to have everything right from the jump for it to work out that way. There's too many things that happen in that process that can change the trajectory of it. But that being said, it's also abundantly clear to me that when you have all the boxes checked, it just leads to a much better movie. Andrew, Paul, Kim, our co-stars, Terry Ingham directing. And obviously, like, a really good script to begin with. Our executives having faith in sort of what we're doing and letting us sort of get on with it. as well as helping shape and guide things. These are all, when you have it all, it just turns out that way. It's kind of that simple. And that's why when I say like I kind of know where it's going more or less before it comes out, and then I'm always surprised, it seems. But that's kind of what it is. So to answer your question, it is an evolution. I do have those conversations. Things might get more interesting because of that. Um, but the machine is not as black and white as that. And so there's a margin for
Plus you
error.
have your mom reading the scripts as they come in and telling you if
every
they're good
time,
or not. So
every single time.
that
Every
helps.
single time.
I want to take a quick detour and talk about the other project that you've been putting out into the world, charcuterie board. What's it called?
It's definitely called charcuterie board.
Charcuterie
What
board.
does everybody keeps saying chimera.
Chimera. Was that when we did the thing in the motel? My shirt was off. Were you scouting for that? Was that what that was for?
That's correct.
Yeah. I watched it. I loved it. I want more. I think it's really fascinating. Can you talk really quickly about that project and why you chose this avenue, or how your team chose the avenue to do the thing on the website with the countdowns and the questions and putting it out in the different ways in which you put it out? It was an interesting release strategy, if you will.
You said strategy like they didn't know what strategy meant, Brand. That could not have been a more insulting way to ask.
No.
That strategy you use, Tyler. You know the one.
I don't know. I know. I find all of that like. I think a lot of times people.
It's a gimmick. All of it's a gimmick. Everybody's trying to get people to watch things.
I just think by and large we overhype the word strategy like that. Like it's either sometimes things work, sometimes they don't. Yeah. You decided to put things out the way you put them out. Why'd you do it? What was the strategy? Dang it.
The strategy is the opposite of what Dan just said, is not to be gimmicky. Like the whole point of it is, it all started very simply with my friend who was at a crossroads creatively, and he wasn't sure if he wanted to follow the road of being a filmmaker. He's very talented, very successful in his field, and is a very lovely gentleman. I said, well, what if you wanted to do anything as a job, what would that be? And he said, be a filmmaker. And I said, well, this is a very sad ending to a story that, in my opinion, hasn't really fully begun yet. You've tried to make something and you had a lot of chips stacked against you. So why don't we just, as a friend, with no, expectations or pressure, what if we just put you in a circumstance where you can really see if this thing is for you? And we'll put it in a contained situation, and me and you will just get after it for a minute. And at any point in the process, you say, this is not for me. It's too much work. Or it's too hard. I don't get it. We'll just pull the plug, and all we will have lost is some time, some energy, maybe a bit of money, and we will have had the memories. So that's the whole impetus of the project. And then it just evolved over time. And even with the release, it was a conversation of like, we can go to festivals, or we could do this or that. And we had certain individuals who we very greatly admire sort of reached out to us in the process of making it, and said that they were interested in it as a thing. And I said, well, look, man, let's just finish it. And then when we finished it, we're like, well, what do we want to do with it? Do we want to go to festivals and do something, or like, why are we doing this? I always ask myself, what is it? Like, the intention behind what I'm doing is what I try to approach everything with, even doing these podcasts. Like, I'm not just coming on here to talk about myself because this is the last thing I want to do. I'm coming on here for a very specific reason. And that reason is to light Dan up for roasting my movie. The reason is to come here and be with you guys and spend some time. And I care about you guys. I want to, contribute to the talent that you guys have, however I can. And that's why I'm here. No other reason for it than that. And with the release of the thing, I went, we can do all that, or we can just make a playground for the people that I care about. All the people who seem to want to go the extra mile to see, to make something that would be immersive, that's contributive to the experience itself, which is this ambiguous thing that allows room for interpretation and participation from an audience. So how do we dig deeper as an experience? That's why we came up with the release the way it did. And I wanted to see, A, if the folks who seem to want to spend time watching my face doing things, if they would take to this kind of material. It's the sort of ultimate sort of sounding board, because they like movies that are very different than this. And if they did, then this would be a really interesting experience and an experiment. And I can't tell you how absolutely insanely rewarding and incredible that result was, because of my friends and everybody who had worked in it, like Ash and all the other collaborators we worked with. They were just like exhilarated, touched beyond belief in the thoughtfulness and the intelligence of how people were articulating what they thought it was, what it meant to them, what they think it should be, um, and how that continued to build a community with people finding friendships or commiserating sort of over this subject matter. Just kind of like they do with the Hallmark movies, but almost even more immersively because of the way that we released it. They really kind of enjoyed it. So the answer to the question is, why did we do it that way? Certainly not for strategy.